very welcome to the second annual CPD Security Specifier Seminar. On the back of the great success we had last year at Engineers Ireland and the great feedback that we got, we decided to make this an annual event. My name's David Moran, I'm the Marketing Director for ACT, and I'll be your MC this morning. I'd like to first of all thank you all for being here, taking time out of your busy schedules to come along. We're delighted to have you and you're very, very welcome. I'd like to thank our presenters for coming along also, 3 of whom have travelled over from the UK. We've got Browne from ACT, Pat Jeffries from Assa Abloy, Stephen Kenny from Axis Communications, and Paul Green from Milestone Systems. I've seen the presentations. The content is excellent, so it should make for a very informative and educational morning. When you all registered, you all received packs. They're your seminar survival kits, water, chocolate, literature, etc. But most importantly, there should be a booklet with the blue spine in it, and that will have your agenda for the day on it. It will also have all the presentation notes, along with a little area for you to take notes as the guys go through the presentations. One thing to mention is this is worth a CPD half-day hours, which will be emailed to you early next week. And yeah, that is, must go through the agenda for the day, excuse me. So very briefly, Graham is going to kick off. Then we're going to have Paul Green from Milestone, followed by Pat from Abloy. We're going to have a 20-minute break at 11:40, and the break will just be down here in the Vavasaur suite, which is on the left-hand side. If we could all be back in our seats just before 12 p.m, we'll have Steve Kenny from Axis go through adding value to video. Finally, we'll have a panel discussion where you can ask all the questions that you have through the morning sessions. And last but not least, we'd like to invite you on a complimentary guided tour of the Aviva after the panel discussion at 1 o'clock. You'll get to see the dugouts, the players' tunnels, the home dressing rooms, and learn about the 150 years history of this venue from Lansdowne Road through to the Aviva. So if you're interested in that, after the panel discussion, just congregate here and we'll come and collect you. So our first session today is Browne from ACT. Graham has a degree in engineering, a degree in business and psychology, and is finalising his MBA. He's currently the sales manager for Ireland and has worked on projects such as St. James's Hospital, the new CRH headquarters, and the rollout of ACT throughout 180 little supermarket stores in Ireland. He's a member of the product team and has a keen interest in new technologies in the industry, which positions him perfectly to talk about security in the cloud. So Graham, if I could invite you to the podium, please kick off the seminar. Thank you.
So this morning I'm here to do a talk on cloud security, the applications of cloud, where we use it, where we see it, how we interface with it on a daily basis. When we talk about cloud security, out of today's presentation, really what I want to do was get everybody to walk away with an appreciation for an understanding of what cloud is, where we use it, how we interface with it. I'm going to get people to have the confidence and the understanding of where to use the cloud, have that confidence and the criteria and the capabilities to talk to your customer with the confidence to know that you know what you're talking about and to address their issues, their problems, their concerns in terms of cloud. Cloud has been introduced over the last few years. We've seen an introduction, and we'll go through that in today's presentation. In ACT, we have 3 different product streams. We have our traditional access control, which is the majority of our mainstay in business. Our access control business will be dominant here in the Irish marketplace. We would typically have about 60 to 70% market share in terms of ACT in our traditional access control, which would be making up the mainstay of our business. ACT 2 to 3 years ago went into another stream, which was our video management stream. This was where ACT went off and acquired a company. This company was called Secura. They're a video management specialist. And what we did with this system was we actually integrated the 2 panels together. So we integrated access control and video management allow people to have a video management system and an access control system all coming in the one platform. But what we're looking to talk today about is cloud, an introduction to cloud access control. This is one of the tangents and one of the main streams of ACT, what we're looking to go forward with. So we're looking to give it a good introduction into cloud, and as I said, give people the knowledge and the understanding of what cloud is, how it's used, and where it's used. In this morning's presentation, we're looking to give an understanding of what is cloud computing. How do we use it? Where do we use it? What are the drivers behind cloud computing? Why bother go cloud computing? Well, what's the benefits of this? If you're looking at the benefits of what cloud computing, you have to understand what the security is behind it. The security is one of the things that actually will stop people going towards cloud. Is that uncertainty? Is that unknowing of what cloud is, how it's used, where it's used? But the crucial thing here is we want to make that comparison between our traditional access control system and the cloud access control system. Why go for one versus the other? What's the benefits of it? What application suits most for cloud versus our traditional system? And then we want to bring it back to real life and actually have an understanding of, well, let's look at it in the real world. Let's have a case study. Where can this be used? Where can it be utilised, more importantly? We need to have an understanding of what is cloud computing. Cloud computing can be defined in so many different ways as we come across. In ACT, we have very simple definitions. Cloud is simply a service that allows access to your data anytime, anywhere, from any location. This is crucial. This is where it changes. You're able to access the information, reader. If it's a mobile phone, it's a tablet, a PC, from any device. The information is then available 24/7, and we'll touch that later on. But in order to understand what cloud is, we must understand where it came from. How did this develop? Where did we get from? I just want to go through a bit of a timeline of how we got to cloud and how we got to this stage. In the 1940s, we had the introduction of the mainframe computer. We have the ARPANET was born, a method of communication from point to point. It was actually done during the Cold War, so this was actually a means of communication, a backup means of communication. A crucial point was 1971 with the introduction of the first email. The 1970s with the introduction of the main commercial entities. This kind of changed the computer interface. This brought the computerized system into people's homes. They started to look at it from a commercial entity perspective. So you'd likes of Microsoft, Apple, Oracle, Dell came into the marketplace. But then in the 1990s, we had the introduction of the World Wide Web, the www, as we're all aware of today. Netscape was the first evolution of what eventually turned into Internet Explorer that we all use every day. The commercial entities of Amazon and eBay came into the marketplace. Being able to access your information, being able to access commercial goods over the net. This is kind of a main changer. This brought the commercial reality of something that all of a sudden now you can buy things online. So it changed the way we looked at the internet and how we understand it. The term cloud computing was first used in 1997. The understanding then was slightly different than it is now. But really it all changed with the introduction of Salesforce. Salesforce was the first platform to introduce a cloud solution. This was information of a CRM system that was available in any place, any location. So if you take the scenario of people being out on the road, they have information, salespeople out on the road, they want to get access to information, customer data, they want to feed that in, they want to give live updates. This all came through with Salesforce. These are really the innovators of cloud computing. Amazon Work Services. This really changed an awful lot because it allowed you to store information on the cloud. This was the first application that allowed you to store information and where it can be stored from. This changed from a commercial perspective with the introduction of the smartphone. The smartphone now gave you the utility and the ability to access information from any location. Because you're using a GSM system and you've got your multiple apps, you can access information from any location. So this brought in the likes of your Dropbox, your OneDrive. This really changed where people You had retailers now looking to get information at any time, at any place. And this really pushed the commercial perspective. Smartphones are in the marketplace. Commercial entities start to look at this and say, well, how do we develop this? How do we get involved? How do we get a piece of this pie, really? Microsoft Azure kicked in. We all know how big Microsoft Azure are, or Microsoft as a company. They came along with a platform that allows you to build, deploy, and manage services through a global network. So they gave you the infrastructure to build on something. Without these companies, without the time frame, and without the platform that these companies have created, your smaller entities, your SMEs, would never be able to actually provide the cloud services. These companies built up a platform and a legacy that your smaller SMEs can now work on, which brought in the small SMEs, the likes of ACT 365. This would never have been able to be possible if you hadn't had the backing of the larger companies. With the backing of the larger companies, we must understand, well, how do we build a system? What makes up a cloud? What makes up the system? So we take the analogy of a tree. The roots of your tree is your infrastructure. Your infrastructure as a service is your storage, your servers, your network facility. This is the backbone. This is what you need for any system, but it's crucial in terms of cloud. If you take the stem of the tree as your platform, this is your Microsoft Azure. This allows for you to develop, test, deploy, and host services. So what you have here is a bit of a building block. You have your infrastructure, it's down. If you're talking about laying a house or building a tree, you have your roots is your infrastructure, your platform as a service. And then what you have is your software as a service that comes on top of it. Your software as a service, as I said, you have Salesforce, you have your Workday, your Office 365. The Office 365 is a major landmark in terms of cloud. Now your emails are being hosted remotely. The information in your emails is as important as any information, as a lot would say. And your introduction of your SMEs, as I touched on as well, which your Act 365, the ability now for commercial entities to offer a cloud service. But really what these are all doing is they're all working together. You can't have one without the other. You need to have your infrastructure, you need to have your platform, you need to have your service. So all these working together really is what brings a cloud offering. But what are the different types of cloud? This is something that we must look at. You have your public cloud. Really what your public cloud is, your internet as you know it. This is what we see as an internet base. This is your public cloud. You also have a private cloud. This has the same infrastructure and it emulates a public cloud, but it's being managed by a private network. There's also been a drive to have a hybrid cloud, which is a combination of both. We've seen this in the introduction of some companies where they want to have the capabilities and the opportunities to use both services, but have the security and the side of a private network. So this has been introduced now. These are different types of cloud. What we talk about is 90% of the time is a public cloud, and it's the internet really as we know it. But what are the drivers? Why bother to go to cloud? What's the opportunities behind this? The mobile revolution is crucial. We touched on it earlier with the launch of the smartphone in 2007. This came, if I was put in perspective, in 2015, there was 2 billion smartphone devices launched, sold last year. 325 million tablets and 270 million laptops. There's a shift in working norms. People want to access their information at any time, any location, on any device. As I said, whether that's a smartphone, a tablet, a PC, people want access to that information, and they want to access when they want it. There's also a push here for the 24/7 access to that information. People do not only turn off now at 5 o'clock. The working demands of global networks, global companies, means that people have to be able to access information when they want it, whenever they want it, on whatever they want it. That's, as I said, a tablet, a mobile phone, a PC. This is crucial to the operating of a 24/7 company nowadays. As more you see globalisation starting to kick in, you see more multinationals, especially in relation to Ireland. We don't switch off at 5 o'clock anymore. That clock just keeps on going. Security managers now have to have access to their information when they want it. They have to be able to access, they have to be able to delete, interrogate systems when that demand is needed. There's also been a shift. Something went wrong there, I think, there's no. We're all right. There's also been a shift from really capital expenditure to operating expenditure. People are looking to eliminate large capital costs when they're looking at their network and infrastructure. If you're developing a system, you want to be able to scale up and scale down, and we'll touch that a little bit later on. So there's definitely a shift. This is seen as in terms of multi-subscriptions rather than annual subscriptions, rather than having the capital outlay of a large system, that you're able to pay for what you need when you need it and when you want it, to utilise the capabilities that are there already. This dramatically changed with the introduction of our public cloud providers, the likes of Amazon, Google, Microsoft. These now enable companies to get involved in the likes of cloud providers. These enable the infrastructure that's there and being provided by the likes of Amazon, Google, and Microsoft. But what is the benefits of cloud? We've touched on it already. On-demand service. People being able to access their information at any time. Again, from any device, your smartphone, tablet, your PC. Which is crucial, it's location independent, so you can be anywhere at any time accessing that information. So this is one of the huge benefits the cloud brings. If you had a traditional local area network system, you can only access that information from within. Or if you want to access that information from outside of your local area network, then you have to have the capabilities and the IT efficiency to be able to do it, which can be limited. And if you're talking about an SME marketplace, if you're talking about companies that have that sort of infrastructure, it is quite limited in the real world scenarios. Crucial is to scale up and scale down when you need to, which is crucial. Being able to, if you think about investing in the servers, direct investing in that infrastructure, the benefit of what the cloud brings is as long as you have a decent internet connection, you can scale up and scale down on your requirements, on your demands. So if you have a large project that's coming up and you want to scale up in terms of development from a manufacturer's point of view, it's very easy to do. The facility is there, the infrastructure is there, the network is there. So you can scale up and scale down on demands. This allows for usage-based pricing. You're only paying for what you need and when you need it. One of the things we talk about in cloud is the security. But what this allows is the transference of risk. You're now able to work with high-end companies with a shared responsibility model. What do I mean by this? The risk does not solely now rely on the security manager. You now have the backing and ensure the backing of the largest global companies who have the highest standards, the best engineers, and the best equipment in the industry. You have their expertise. You have to understand what they have to lose if it doesn't go right. This brings us on to the security of the cloud and where would you use it and how we use it. So how secure is the cloud? What are the major potential issues of the cloud? If you're considering using a cloud system, one of the questions people will ask, and I guarantee you they'll ask you, well, if we're going to use the cloud, what's the benefits or what's the threats behind it? The major threats behind cloud, as we see them in ACT, is definitely the likes of tracing, which is cloud monitoring. So it's looking at the information when it goes from point A to point B, and it's monitoring across that line. Service hacking, taking down a system. Huge threat of actually being able to infiltrate a system and take the whole system down. Malicious insiders. One of the crucial things that's never really talked about is the people within the organisation. This has been crucial in companies over the last few years, of people within the organisation are the biggest threat to the organisation. We must understand that the data integrity of the information. We must protect against unauthorised deletion, modification, and fabrication. This is changing the information of once it's stored, which is crucial to a system. This can be achieved by simple things like RAID-like strategies, which is backing up, ensuring that information is stored in dual locations, but also with data signatures, digital signatures. What a digital signature, very quickly, is a method that you have a public key, you've got pair keys. So you've got a public key, that allocate a number, and then you have a private key. The numbers are sent from your private key to your public key, and if there's any changes along the way, there's an incremental in the number. So if the number doesn't match, then you're told that the information is after being corrupted, the information is after being intercepted along the line. That's a very simple technology of pair keys. Your keys should be changing regularly. So that's the information that leaves point A, goes to point B, and if there's any incremental changes, then you're notified about it. Confidentiality. It's virtually impossible to eliminate insider threat. If there's enough reasons to get inside to a system, you can't really stop it as much as people like to say you can. The foremost issues around this are the privacy of the data, the protection of that equipment, the protection of that information, and where is that information stored, and how safe is the information is where it is being stored, and the secure transmission of that information, which we spoke about, which is the point A to point B, and the pair keys that ensures that that information is safe along the line. If you work with partners, the likes of Microsoft, you're ensuring that you're getting the highest level of encryption that's available. As I said earlier on, you're getting the best in the business. You're getting best equipment, the best security measures, and the best people working on the equipment. So I think the crucial part of this is the partnership and the shared responsibility model. If you're working on the right platform, with the right reputable provider, you've got the right policies around that information, and you're introducing the likes of strong passwords to eliminate social engineering. How many organizations do we come across and there's a simple password like pass1234 or your PA $? Huge organizations all using the same password. How often does the IT guy that's on site change the password? Does the IT guy that has administrator password to a site use the same password, and does he ever change it? These are the real scenarios that we come across on a day-to-day basis that really lock down and make a system secure. The point-to-point communication, it's encrypted. It's using the same level of encryption that your internet banking is using. Your 2048 HTTPS, your SSL encryption, ensures that the data moving point A to point B is secure. This, as I said before, is the same information, the same method that's used in your internet banking. So if it's safe to transfer your money, is it safe to transfer your data? But around the EU directive, they've introduced sort of 7 measures around legislation to ensure that your information is secure at all times. There must be notice of where your information is being held. So if someone takes your information, they must actually notify you that they have your information. They must also see what the purpose of that information being held is. They must ultimately have your consent. If they have your information, they don't know about it, it's illegal. Once the information is collected, it must be secured. They must ensure that there's the right capabilities around the security of a system. There must be disclosure. If the information is collected and it is released, we've seen this in the media recently where information on laptops have gone missing. The cost behind something like that happening is huge, purely from a commercial aspect. Notifying people by post, hundreds of thousands, millions, excluding the reputable damage of the company. The access to that information is obviously must be contained. They must have the right credentials around securing that information, the right servers. The only people who are allowed to have access can get access. But ultimately, it's about accountability. Who's accountable for the information? The person that holds your data is accountable for your information safe passage, to make sure that the information they hold in regards to you is held safely. Ultimately, it comes down to trust. Do you trust the people that you're working with? Do they have a lot to lose if your information is leaked? If you look at the likes of Microsoft, they have a huge amount in terms of reputable damage. If your information is leaked, all of a sudden their business, their cloud computing, collapse. So they introduce the right platforms, the right security measures to make sure that does not happen. But what I want to do is we've looked at the security measures, we looked at around that sort of side of it. I want to bring this back to real world scenario. How do we use this on a day-to-day basis? How is this implemented in the real world as we talk about access control, which is really what ACT's speciality is? If you break down a system, you have your traditional door, you have your access control unit, you have your locking mechanism, you have your green break glass, your push button, your reader, and your local area network. Everything here remains the same when you're talking about cloud. What only changes, so your local hardware is exactly the same. Everything else, the infrastructure, the setup is all the same. The only thing that really changes is the cloud, the interface to a PC. That's really what we're seeing that's changing here. In a traditional system, you have your server, connected to your LAN, it's connected over multiple PCs or client PCs. What changes with the cloud is now what you have, your data is being stored in a different location. So the information comes in as you present your card to the reader, if we take that as example, it goes into the controller and then is passed to the cloud. That information is then secured in the cloud until you want to access that information from any device. So whether it's your smartphone, your tablet, your PC, that's accessible now 24/7 from any location at any time, which allows users to enable, delete, whatever they need to do, change access rights of a system. But why cloud access control? Why go this sort of direction? What does it bring to the user? We must look at it in different ways. And we must ask the questions. Do we want local access? Is it local or is it remote access? When you're looking at specifying a system or looking at a system for your clients and they're asking the question, you have to ask the question, what way do they want to access that information? Do they want to manage it locally? Is it an operation that's 24/7 that never requires remote access? Or is it access required outside of the building, outside of the environment, whether a mobile phone, tablet, PC, as we spoke about earlier on? Is it for single or multiple locations? Do they want for a single location that's secured? If you typically think of a single organization or a single entity, they generally have the infrastructure there. If it's a large site, 500-600 doors, they generally have the infrastructure, they have the IT resources, they have the capital infrastructure there to provide a system. If you think about multiple sites, do they typically have that facility? Do they have the IT guys? Do they have the network? Do they have the backbone of the structure set up? Typically, in my experience, they don't. If you have a large in-house IT department, they can manage the system. But really what happens when you get out into the real world and multiple sites, you have an IT guy that might cover 5 to 10 different locations. So he's scarce. What the cloud brings is that offering of being able to manage these sites remotely and securely. So as I touched on there in terms of your IT providers, the internal or external, this is one of the key questions. When you're looking at either a cloud or a traditional access control system, does the person or does the company have the facility, the means to control their access control system within house, or is it something that could be external? One of the other things that the cloud brings is remote diagnostics to a system. You're able to get the information on a system very quickly. It's easily accessible. We bring this into real world terms. If a door is forced open, if a door is left ajar, on your comms rooms, your cash office, this information is then pushed to the user very quickly and they can react to that information. This all brings it around to your diagnostics. And ultimately what that does, and when you're talking about diagnostics, and we talk from an installation base, this saves cost. It's efficient. If someone knows that there's a problem on the site, that information gets pushed to the installer, the installation company, and they're able to react to that information very quickly. Change a power supply, change a lock, brake glass is broken. I know there's numerous incidents that I've been involved in when you walk into premises, the door swinging open because staff are basically too lazy to bring the cars in, so press a brake glass and open the door. That information then can be passed to your security manager. But where does this sit when we talk about cloud system versus a traditional on-premise system? Really, if I've been honest about it, both systems can technically do both jobs. So you could very easily swap them around if you wanted. Technically, they could do it if you have the capital, if you have the resources to do it. But really what changes in the commercial world is it's not really possible. When you're talking about multiple locations, you're talking about the network facility of multiple locations. With a cloud access product, or you can just plug it into the network, it goes straight up. There's no interfacing with a PC or with the IT department. This goes straight onto the network, and then you have the capability of a full access control system managed from multiple locations very easily. An on-premise system, as we're aware, can go from multiple hundreds of doors, as we have here in Ireland. They could be 1 to 500, thousands, multiple thousands of doors. With an on-premise system, it's all controlled. They have the infrastructure, they have the capabilities, they have the IT, as we touched on earlier on, they have the expertise in-house. We're multiple cloud-based offering where you've got multiple sites that dot around the country. Sometimes their resources are lacking. So there's some of the questions that you need to ask when you're looking at a system. An example of that would be that we have a typical utility. You've got multiple locations, offices, based around the country. You've got a security manager that has access, run reports, access footage. But he also has the likes of unmanned sites that are dotted around the country. He needs to have access to them. They've been connected, grant access using GSM, being able to access that information from any time, any place, any location. But if you take this from a real world perspective, we look at this as where is this being implicated and what the cloud offers. We have a case study here at the Lawn Tennis Association in the UK. They would have 2.5 million members, 2,500 clubs, 10,000 tennis courts managed. Ultimately, what they have is a lot of administration headaches. They have the problem of trying to deal with managing multiple courts, the allocation of time, people, resources being used for that. If you think about someone who's renting a tennis court, they have to go down, turn on the lights, open the court, let the person in, come back, turn off the lights, manage the court. We came together with a company called Sports Labs in the UK. We got a real world solution where they were able to offer a cloud platform that allows you to book and manage your court online. So what happens is you go onto your system, you type in your name, you book your court. That sends you a text message with your PIN, your court number that you can access for that particular time. That information is then sent to the cloud and transferred down to your local controller on site, which then allows the user to come down, type in the code, and open the door. This takes away huge emphasis on the human aspect being involved in this. This takes away a huge cost and capital cost required to manage such a site like this. This is an example of how the likes of a cloud solution can be adapted and can be integrated with other platforms, other cloud platforms that can bring a good solution to the user. Today, I just want to take away from this short introduction into the cloud that the cloud now is secure, but it's secure on the platform of trust. Do you trust the provider that you're working with? What have they got to lose when they're talking about a cloud system? It allows for remote management of multiple sites very easily through your smartphone, your tablet, your PC, from any device at any time in any location. And finally, it allows for seamless integration. That integration can be into any third-party platform, whether it's a booking management software, integration into CCTV systems. There's linking, which allows you to click on a door and actually see the person that's on the door on your mobile phone. I'd like to finally just thank everybody for their attention here this morning. I know it's a brief intro into cloud technologies. I would like to welcome any questions at the end or during the break. We're going to have a panel discussion. We also do CPD lunch and learns, which if anybody would like more information on what we talked on this morning, and obviously in this limited time, very much welcome that. I'd like to thank you, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your morning. Thanks very much.